40 miraculous morning affirmations to manifest divine promises and confirm supernatural blessings. In the hushed dawn of Thornfield, the sun's golden fingers poked through the clouds, illuminating the towering steeple of St. Michael's Church. This was a village steeped in reverence, where miracles whispered on the wind and faith took root in the hearts of its people. Here lived Anne, a devoted mother of two whose spirit radiated hope like a beacon. Yet beneath her unwavering smile lay a heart fractured by anguish. Her son, James, just 7, had fallen terribly ill, leaving doctors resigned and S world darkened with despair. Every evening, as the stars twinkled like divine promises overhead, she gathered her children, their small hands clasped tightly, and led them in fervent prayers. "Lord, bless James," she would implore, her voice quivering with emotion. But now, the echoes of prayer felt hollow. What if? The thought gnawed at her. What if their prayers were not enough? The villagers knew her well. As the sun streamed through the stained glass, painting the stone walls with hope, and sought solace in her community, she called upon them, inviting every family to join in prayer. They gathered, their spirits lifting in an electric atmosphere, praying earnestly for healing. But even as prayers mingled, doubts arose: would they truly see a miracle? Then one fateful afternoon, just as despair threatened to suffocate her spirit, Anne crossed paths with Father Thomas. He was a gentle soul, wise beyond his years. "Ah," and he said, sensing the burden she carried. "Do you know the scripture of the healing faith?" He shared words that echoed through her, igniting a flicker of hope. "It is your faith that has healed you," he proclaimed. The promise wrapped around her like a warm embrace, and her heart settled into a newfound resolve. But the nagging question still licked at her: could faith clash with worldly solutions? Determined for action, Anne sought every possible remedy for James. Conversations turned into confusion, leading her down paths fraught with complications. Each new attempt felt like a wave crashing against the shore of her faith. In time, St. Michael's became not just a place of wonder, but a battleground of belief, where she and the congregation shared anxious glances and whispered fears. Then came the moment that would test the very fabric of their community. Standing in front of those gathered worried faces, casting shadows across the holy light, and reminded them of past miracles. "Remember the times we saw divine intervention," she urged, her voice rising above the collective anxiety. "The laughter of new life, the healing touch we have felt." And they prayed. Oh, how they prayed! In one electrifying surge, hands joined in a sacred circle, hearts echoed each other's cries. "Help us, Lord," she called out, clutching James's favorite book of scripture close to her heart. The air thickened with anticipation, a palpable force drawing them nearer to the divine. Just as the prayers reached an impassioned crescendo, silence enveloped them. A love deeper than any they had ever known filled the space, and Anne felt it: a warmth, a hope. Would this be the moment? As eyes darted around in hopeful uncertainty, anticipation hung heavy, leaving hearts racing. In her hands was the authority of every prayer sent heavenward. Would they witness the miraculous? Would James be healed? The answer loomed just out of reach, creating an ache for divine intervention that promised to reshape their lives forever. Before we continue, I need to tell you about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system, and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now, let's continue. As the flickering candlelight danced around them, and felt each breath filled with desperation and faith. With tears glistening in her eyes, she cast her gaze toward the heavens, knowing that the answer would either break or renew their fragile hearts. Perhaps, just perhaps, the shadow cast by St. Michael's steeple would soon illuminate a path toward their divine promise. The stillness shattered as a gentle breeze wafted through the open doors of St. Michael's Church, catching the flickering candles and sending flickers of light dancing across the sacred walls. The congregation, united by faith and hope, held their breath, a collective sigh caught in the web of prayer, and could feel their shared energy, the tangible spirit intertwining with her own. "Lord," she whispered, finding strength in the vulnerability of her plea, "you are the great healer. Please, let your will shine upon my boy." As those words hung in the air, a curious silence wrapped around them like a thick blanket of expectation, a sign, a hint of what might come next. The atmosphere thickened, alive with possibility, and found herself swaying slightly, cradled in the ripple of prayer that flowed from every corner of the room, as if the very essence of hope poured forth from the hearts of all gathered. Then, without warning, a slight rustle echoed from the edge of the congregation. A little girl, no more than 5, took a small step forward. Her hair gleamed like sunshine, and her innocent eyes sparkled with sincere belief. "I have a message," she declared, her voice ringing through the stillness. Murmurs surged amongst the villagers, and felt each gaze shift toward the girl, curiosity lighting their faces like flames layered in faith. "God told me to tell you not to worry, everything will be okay. He loves James, and he loves us too." The room filled with a gasp, the unexpectedness of a child's proclamation sweeping through them like a burst of warm sunlight on a chilly morning. And, as hearts surged, did this come from a light above? Could this be the miracle they had been seeking? In that moment, Father Thomas stepped forward, his brow furrowed with keen introspection. "Little one," he spoke gently, kneeling before her. "Where did you hear this?" "I was playing with the angels," she replied, her innocence radiating an optimism that momentarily pushed away the darkness. "They told me to remind everyone of God's love and his promises." And S' heart stirred. Could childlike faith indeed unravel the tether of despair that weighed her down? With each word from the little girl, her worries seemed to lift, freeing her mind from the clutches of doubt. Could it be true, as the child insisted? The gathered crowd began to murmur among themselves, some ponderous, others hopeful. They were reminded of the childlike faith Jesus spoke of, the simple belief that transcends understanding. Even as Anne's mind sought to hold onto logic, her heart yearned to embrace the extraordinary. The light outside began to shift, deepening the golden hue that enveloped the church, filling it with hues of orange and pink. It was as if the heavens were paying attention, honoring their deepest plea. Soft whispers replaced the anxious tones that had once permeated the space, hope rekindling amidst their doubts. "What if?" Anne repeated inwardly, her spirit lifted. What if this was not just a fleeting moment, but the dawn of something more profound? As she sought to reignite her faith through this unexpected oracle, she sensed the softener of grace around her heart. The shadows of uncertainty slithered away. They bowed their heads in renewed prayer, not with the burden of desperation, but with a thrilling anticipation of divine intervention. Their voices swelled once more, harmonizing in a way that transcended earthly understanding. As they prayed, vibrant flickers of belief ignited within Anne. What would God do next? Each pulse of energy brought them closer to a revelation, a transformation. And then, with the world seemingly holding its breath, a sudden gasp arose from the back of the church. Was it the manifestation they had all craved? What awaited them just beyond the threshold of their prayers? The journey to divine promise was not over yet. The gasp reverberated like an echo through the sacred space, ricocheting off the walls, filling the hall with an electric tremor of expectancy. And turned, curiosity igniting within her heart. A figure emerged from the shadows, silhouetted against the soft glow of the candles. It was Margaret, the village healer, known for her hands that seemed to cradle warmth and hope. "And," Margaret called out, her voice fragile, yet filled with urgent resolve. "Come quickly." The gentle reverence of prayer wrestled with a rising pulse of urgency in Anne's chest. She moved instinctively, her feet finding the path toward the healer. The whispers of the congregation faded, replaced by a focused heartbeat of purpose. What could Margaret have sensed in the ether, drawing her toward the pulpit like a moth to the flame of truth? With a tender grip, Margaret clasped Anne's hands, and in that simple act, something ancient and powerful stirred between them. "Your boy," she said, with each syllable steeped in profound weight. I felt a shift, a wave of grace rushing over him. Anne's heart soared, taken aback by the potential that danced before her. "What do you mean?" "God's love has broken through." Margaret's eyes sparkled with a luminescence that mirrored the flickering candles around them. "He is with James even now, healing him in ways we cannot yet see. Look." She turned, her thumb pointing toward the window, where the evening light was ablaze, transforming into a dazzling tapestry of colors. Outside, a flock of birds took flight, rising against the horizon as if propelled by unseen hands. It was a movement that felt heavenly and altogether right, as if the universe was aligning in honor of their prayers. The congregation began to feel it too, a ripple down the pews, a collective awakening. Eyes widened, and whispers turned to gasps of wonder. It was as if the very air hummed with possibilities, tangible and near. "Can you trust that he hears us?" Margaret continued, her voice resonating with conviction. "Let us pray for James, all of us, together, with hearts unburdened, believing as the child believes." The weight of their fears lifted, replaced by something raw and stirring confidence. Anne felt it. She saw the lines of worry soften on the faces of those around her. One by one, they nodded, taking their cue from the little girl's innocence, gathering strength as a community. As they united in prayer, once more voices, rising like a chorus of angels, Anne's heart swelled. Each whisper sent shivers of hope down her spine. "Lord, we place all our trust in your hands," she breathed, her spirit intertwined with the crowd, soaring with the butterflies of divine possibility. As the final prayer hung suspended in the air, a dim light flickered, a crackling reminder of the presence surrounding them. Suddenly, the candles shone brighter, each flame a reminder of grace threading through their hopes and promises. Then came the unmistakable sound of laughter, a joyous melody escaping the mouth of the innocent child. "They told me to tell you. Don't stop believing," she exclaimed, her eyes wide with the thrill of safety and assurance. And gasped, her heart pulsing fiercely. A revelation of love imbued the air. Could they truly not stop believing? Could faith transform the darkest corners into light? In that moment, the stillness of the church was filled with a vibrant anticipation, and exhilarating promise had taken root. Yet, as hearts leaned forward, waiting in the enthusiasm of divine transformation, a deep silence anchored them once again. What awaited them just around the bend of hope? What further wonders lay waiting beyond their combined faith? The path towards revelation beckoned them like a whisper trailing in the twilight. The air was thick with expectation, every heart within the sacred space tuned to a frequency of hope, vibrating with the joyful anticipation that something beautiful was about to unfold. And stood in the midst of it all, her mind bustling with thoughts of James. Would their unwavering belief summon a miracle? Margaret squeezed her hands tighter, grounding and in the present. "Let us not just wait for signs. We must act in faith," she urged, her voice imbued with the weight of experience. "Faith without works is like a seed buried without light. It cannot flourish." With newfound determination, Anne turned to the congregation. "Let us move, friends," she called out, her voice steady and strong. "Let us create a circle of prayer for James. Let us surround our love for him with action. We must believe he is being healed and express that faith with our every breath." The congregation responded immediately, standing to form an embracing circle. A whisper, like a soft wind, passed through them, and felt the warmth of hands resting on her shoulders, surrounding her with hope, lifting her spirit like the rising sun. As they gathered closely, the energy pulsed between them, each heart beating with the rhythm of unity. Eyes closed, they began to chant fervently, their words weaving a tapestry of divine affirmation. "We believe in healing. We believe in love. We believe in the child's heart. Amid their collective outpouring, and felt the weight of uncertainty begin to dissipate, like fog giving way to dawn's light. Each prayer became a thread, intertwining into a fabric of strength. Suddenly, a brilliant light flickered around the edges of her closed eyes. It felt as if the very heavens were opening, pouring forth blessings and grace. And opened her eyes, and for a fleeting moment, she glimpsed the phenomenon, the faint glow of angelic figures dancing in the corners of her vision. Her heart raced. It was as if the spiritual realm was affirming their plea. "Look, do you see?" she gasped, sharing her discovery with the congregation. Gasps of awe rippled through the circle. All eyes fluttered toward the corners as they struggled to catch a glimpse of the ethereal. The heavenly light washed over them, and a warm breeze carried the scent of fresh blooms, lifting their spirits higher still. "I can feel his presence," Margaret declared, her voice trembling as sheer joy took hold. "Healing is upon us." A hush fell over them, the type that precedes divine revelations. Each person in the circle began to share testimonies, small miracles they'd experienced, feelings of unexplainable peace, whispers of divine encounters that had transformed their lives. These moments were like petals unfolding under sunlight, each more beautiful than the last. Then, amid the testimonies, Anne felt prompted to share. "When I think of James," she began, her voice steady yet filled with emotion, "I remember the strength he carries within. He is a child of promise, full of potential." As the words flowed, she felt a holy fire igniting within her. She was not just recounting her love as a mother, she was declaring the truth of her son's rebirth. The congregation echoed her words, amplifying the belief that James's healing was not just possible, but already in motion. This collective faith surged, creating a wave of fervent love directed toward the child resting far from them. As the prayers continued, beautiful colors swirled around them, once more the flickering candlelight reflecting vibrant hues of crimson and gold, casting a heavenly glow over the sacred gathering. Just as the embodied sense of triumph peaked, a sharp knock rang through the hall, startling them from their shared bliss. The energy shifted. What could it be? And who would come at such a decisive moment? They turned as one, hearts pounding, breaths caught, ready for what lay ahead, what awaited them at that door, entwined within their faith, and could it alter the course of their prayers forever? The knock echoed again, resonating through the silence, like the heartbeat of the sanctuary. Anne's heart raced in rhythm with the anxious murmurs of her friends. Every eye turned toward the door, a collective breath held tight in anticipation. "Who could it be?" whispered a voice from the back. It was David, eyes wide and expectant. "Is it a messenger?" "Let us see," Margaret said, tugging at Anne's hand. With a gentle nod of encouragement, she stepped forward to open the door, tension thrumming in the air around her. As the door creaked open, the light from the hall spilled into the room, a contrast against the warmth of their gathering. In stepped a figure, draped in a shawl that seemed to shimmer with hues of twilight. It was an elderly woman, her face lined with stories yet alive with a vibrant spirit. The scent of lavender surrounded her, filling the space with an inexplicable peace. "Greetings, beloved ones," she said softly, her voice a melodic whisper. "I come to share a message of hope." Anne's heart skipped. "Who are you?" The woman smiled, a knowing glimmer in her eyes. "I am but a humble servant, one who walks the threads of faith. I have heard your prayers from afar." A ripple of awe spread through the gathered souls, and a softer light appeared, encircling the woman as she stepped closer. "Your love for James has reached the heavens. The divine listens to the cries of the heart, and like the sun unyieldingly pursues the horizon, so your faith shall awaken miracles." "What do you mean?" Anne's voice trembled with both longing and fear. "Is he?" "Indeed, dear one," the woman continued, her hands outstretched. "God's touch is already upon him. His spirit has felt the warmth of your prayers. He is not alone. Healing flows like a river, and it calls for your continued belief." Anne felt tears prick her eyes. She opened her mouth to speak, but words caught in her throat, the weight of such sacred news overwhelming her. "Do not doubt," the woman urged gently, sensing her struggle. "What you seek is being finalized as we stand in this holy place. Your unwavering love fuels the fire of his healing." The congregation moved closer, encircling this mysterious visitor like a protective embrace. Each heart pounded with expectant faith, their voices echoing in unison as they thought of James. Margaret stepped boldly forward, hope shining in her eyes. "What must we do?" she asked with passion. "How can we ensure that James continues to be wrapped in this divine grace?" The woman's gaze softened, and she rested her hands on Margaret's shoulders. "Your dedication must remain steadfast. Gather and affirm each day. Speak blessings over the child as the dawn breaks. Your affirmations will nourish the miracle already in motion." As she spoke, something shifted in the atmosphere. The air shimmered around them, crackling with potential and promise, and felt strengthened, buoyed by a conviction that life flowed back into her son. "Let us affirm together," Margaret called, her spirit infectious. "Each day, let us rise with declarations of healing, with affirmations that James' spirit flourishes in abundant wholeness." Nods of agreement spread through the group, an electrifying surge igniting within them. They joined hands once more, their hearts swelling with electric anticipation as they began to chant together, "James is healed. James is whole. Love surrounds him." But amid their joy, a question sparked in S heart. What if there's more beyond this moment? What if we step into something greater? The woman's smile deepened, her eyes gazing into the depths of Anne's soul. Beauty lies not just in the destination of healing, dear sister, but in the journey of faith. Embrace the unknown and trust in the divine timing. A greater revelation awaits you." As her words lingered in the air, expectation flooded the room. What was to come still hung in the balance, and the air thickened with a sense of divine urgency. What revelation would change their understanding of faith and healing, and how would it forever alter their path to the miraculous? The atmosphere shimmered with anticipation, as if the very walls of the sanctuary could sense the stirring in the hearts of those gathered. They stood united, hands entwined, with hope woven tightly among their fingers. "Let us begin," Anne whispered, her voice steadying like a river finding its course. "Each morning, we will speak affirmations over James." The elderly woman smiled, a knowing light brightening her features. "Yes, speak as if the miracle is already manifest. Your voices will rise as incense, drawing forth the blessings meant for him. Remember, every word is a seed planted in fertile soil." Margaret squeezed Anne's hand, and she felt the rush of warmth and strength. "We will cultivate these seeds together. If we nurture them with faith, we shall witness life flourish." Laughter and echoes of agreement surrounded them. Each member of the gathering felt a stirring within, a conviction that extended beyond themselves, unfurling into a tapestry of connections. The woman settled in a corner of the room, the soft light playing across her shawl, casting a gentle glow. "You must believe in the unseen. Your faith is a bridge that carries you to realms of divine grace. Life itself thrives on belief. Every day we will rise before dawn," David declared, his eyes gleaming with fervor. "Like the sun that breaks through the darkness, we will declare joy and wholeness." As the group discussed how they would affirm James' healing, and felt a gentle nudge towards the woman. She walked closer, curiosity bubbling. "What comes after our affirmations? Will we know when the miracle happens?" The elder nodded, her gaze tender. "The moment of realization unfurls through consciousness. Pay attention to your surroundings, dear ones. The divine presents itself in the small gestures and quiet moments." They gathered closer, their voices intertwining in a chorus, each participant echoing faith into existence. "James is surrounded by goodness. In his heart, healing is taking root. Love flows through our voices." With each repetition, anticipation thickened like early morning fog, wrapping itself around them. And inhaled deeply, tears shimmering in her eyes as hope blossomed like spring flowers breaking ground. Look not solely for the breakthrough, but relish every whisper of divine guidance along the way, the woman instructed. Her tone rang like a chime summoning them to deeper understanding. Each step in faith is a step towards the miraculous. As the affirmations flowed from their lips, and felt that the very universe was in alignment with their cries. It was a symphony of belief, a sacred dance where each heartbeat resonated with purpose. Let us visualize James each morning, Margaret suggested. See him full of life, running and laughing. Let us draw forth the healing in our minds before it materializes. Yes, they cried out in agreement. Each voice gained strength, and together, they created a vision more vibrant and alive than any single heart could conjure alone. The room powered with their collective energy, the air humming with possibility. The anchoring message from the mysterious woman glowed in their hearts. As they prepared to part ways and turned to the woman, is this the path we must take for our faith to witness miracles? Will our combined voices truly summon divine touch? With a loving smile, the woman nodded, the twilight patterns dancing in her shawl shimmering. The journey ahead will be laced with challenges. But do not fear. Difficulties will deepen your understanding. Keep steadfast in your focus. Miracles are crafted through devotion and togetherness, and felt renewed, ready to face whatever lay ahead. Each member now carried a spark of flame of hope ignited by shared faith. But as the last echoes of their affirmations faded, a deep question lingered in and S heart. What if our voices call not just for healing, but for an even greater purpose? What if this journey reveals something more wondrous than we can imagine? The elderly woman's gaze sparkled with mystery, her lips curving into a knowing smile. Ah, that is the question that opens the door to the extraordinary. The air crackled once more, leaving them with a sense of readiness for what awaited them, a revelation that felt just out of reach. What awaited them down this sacred path, and how would it forever shift their understanding of faith and love? In the stillness that followed their gathering, each member of the circle departed with hearts that pulsed with a new rhythm, and stepped outside, the early dawn light painting the world in soft pastels. The sky awakened, and so did her spirit, blooming in the warmth of hope. As Anne walked, she felt that familiar tug in her heart, an invitation to remain connected to the divine. What are the steps we must take? She whispered under her breath, the question slipping into the morning air. Every day was a chance for miracles, and those thoughts felt as if they danced like butterflies around her. She remembered the words of the elder, resonating in her mind. Each affirmation serves as a seed. What would sprout from these affirmations? What blessing awaited them after the morning dew settled? The days that followed were filled with stillness and intention. Each dawn, the group would gather, their breaths forming clouds in the cool air as they joined hands once more. A sacred trust enveloped them. They chanted together, words emanated powerfully, creating a harmonic echo that bounced off the walls of the sanctuary. "I see James returning to us, vibrant and alive," shouted David, his voice carrying the weight of his faith. "Yes, we call forth healing," echoed Margaret, her sincerity like an arrow piercing the heart of doubt. Then Anne stepped forward, feeling a swell of conviction. "James is surrounded by love. The divine is working through us." Each believer felt the energy shift within the room, the air thick, electric with the energy of what was to come. On one particularly bright morning, when the sun broke through the clouds, illuminating their faces, and experienced a sudden sense of joy welling up inside her. She closed her eyes and surrendered to it, letting the warmth wash over her. But in the rush of that happiness, shadows of doubt crept in. Was she truly worthy of such joy? Was their journey merely a hopeful dream, or a pathway to something more? As if sensing her turmoil, the elderly woman appeared again, standing just at the edge of the gathering. Her presence felt like a soft light, guiding and back to faith. "Joy, my dear, is the echo of your faith. Treasure it, for it is a sign of divine favor. But remember, paths often twist in ways we do not expect." With those words, The group continued their affirmations, yet an heart began to shift. In that sacred space, joy was mingling with deeper threads of purpose. What if their voices could heal not only James but also ignite a spark in the community around them? Days flowed into a week, and with every sunrise, they witnessed subtle changes in their lives. Neighbors who were distant began to join them, intrigued by the glow they radiated. Their affirmations became known, and others wanted to add their voices. Hope spread wider like ripples in a pond, reaching souls previously shrouded in darkness. But Anne still found herself wrestling with that initial question: why did they feel drawn together, compelled towards something beyond mere healing? Their unity felt like the whispered promises of something deeper, something extraordinary that lay just beyond the horizon. So, what will unfold as we stand together? Anne pondered aloud one morning, looking into the faces of her friends, each filled with faith yet tinted with curiosity. The assurance of miracles lingered in the air, yet an uncharted mystery waited just beyond their grasp. The elderly woman watched, her eyes twinkling with an unspoken secret. Every journey reveals layers of existence. What is about to unfold will shape not only you, but possibly transform the entire fabric of your community, and Anne's breath caught as her heart raced. She sensed the stakes rising. What awaited them at the crossroads of action and belief? What would they discover when the divine began to intertwine with their everyday existence? The air crackled again with wonder, leaving them on the edge of revelation, grasping for clarity amid the mystery that loomed large before them. The morning sun poured through the sanctuary windows, casting golden patterns on the hardwood floor. The warmth enveloped Anne, and with each breath, she felt the pulsating energy of hope. Today, they would not just gather to affirm, they would dig deeper, unraveling the mysteries they sensed were fluttering just beyond their reach. As Anne joined her friends, she noticed the sparkle in David's eyes. He was ready, his heart wide open. "Today feels different," he said, his voice brimming with excitement. "I believe something incredible is on the verge of happening." His words ignited a ripple of anticipation in the group. Margaret nodded, her face radiant. "What if today is the day we receive our signs? Just imagine what we can accomplish together." Her enthusiasm was contagious, and a wave of energy washed over everyone, creating a palpable thrill in the air. Gathered in a circle, they held hands tightly, each of them becoming a living link, a chain of faith intertwined. Moments of silence filled the sacred space, allowing reflection and communion with the divine. Each heartbeat resonated, harmonizing with the affirmations they had grown to treasure. "I see joy overflowing," Anne proclaimed, her voice soaring. "I see families restored and hearts coming alive." The echoes of her words bounced back to her, resonating in the hearts of those around her. "Health and wholeness fill our community," David shouted, his voice lifting higher, igniting a fervor within the circle. "We radiate light," Margaret added, her eyes shining brightly with conviction. The air thickened with a sense of purpose, as though each affirmation was a step down a path of divine purpose. But as the group continued to vocalize their hopes and dreams, Anne's heart began to race with a different beat. Doubt, that old, familiar foe, snuck in again. Were they truly ready? Would their voices resonate loudly enough to pierce the heavens? Suddenly, the elderly woman appeared once more, her presence grounding Anne. "Doubt can be a door," she said softly, her voice like a gentle breeze. "While it may linger, it also invites you into deeper trust. True faith includes room for questioning. In that space, miracles await." And felt an overwhelming warmth spread through her. It was as if the woman's words ignited a flame of courage within her heart. She recognized that vulnerability did not equate to weakness, but instead was a catalyst leading to divine revelation. As the affirmations poured forth, and felt a shift, she could sense the energy building, merging hopes and prayers into a collective force. The community was waking. Their shared beliefs reverberated beyond the mere walls of the sanctuary, reaching out into the world. Outside, the sun rose higher, illuminating the path before them. and realized their journey wasn't just about James anymore. It was about transformation. They were called to carry the light of hope into every corner of their atmosphere, a light that could surely mend brokenness and bring forth healing. However, as the group wrapped up their session, a hush fell. The elderly woman turned her gaze towards the horizon. "Something is coming," she said simply, yet her eyes sparkled with sacred knowledge. "What is it?" And breathed, the question hanging in the air. The weight of expectancy settled over the group as they held their breath, awaiting the divine omen they sensed was approaching. "What must we do to prepare?" David asked, his voice low yet urgent. The group looked to the elderly woman and felt her pulse quicken as they stood at the threshold of something much larger. The divine was stirring, and they were being called into a greater purpose. With anticipation woven through their hearts, and whispered a prayer, ready to witness what would unfold next, what miraculous change awaited them as they opened their spirits to the coming tide. The atmosphere shifted, thick with a sense of divine expectancy. And heart thrummed with rhythm, a heartbeat of life, hope, and promise. The elderly woman continued to gaze into the distance, her eyes reflecting the colors of an unseen dawn. As if awakening from a dream, and spoke softly, "What do you see?" It was a simple question born out of deep curiosity, one that trembled on the edge of the sacred silence. The woman turned to face them, her expression serene yet expectant. "The horizon holds possibilities, miracles dance at the edge of your prayers," she said, her voice delicate yet powerful. "But to receive them, your hearts must be open." David squeezed An's hand, a reassuring smile crossing his face. "Open hearts, yes. We must be willing to embrace whatever comes," he said, his excitement fueling the atmosphere. Margaret chimed in, "Let us prepare then. We should express our intentions. What do we invite into our community today?" Her question rang like a bell, igniting the flickering flames of their hearts. One by one, they spoke again, the words now taking on a greater urgency, a deeper resonance, as if channeling something larger than themselves. "I invite healing, spiritual and emotional," David exclaimed. "I invite peace to rest in our homes and souls," Margaret added. "I invite joy that leads to action, that engages and lifts others," and felt the warmth of community snug around her as their intentions intertwined. As they voiced their desires, a gentle breeze stirred the air, carrying their hopes heavenward. The sun's rays beamed down brighter, seemingly affirming their collective intentions. Each affirmation was a thread being woven into a tapestry of faith, shaping something beautiful and powerful. In the midst of their declarations, the elderly woman raised her hand, her eyes sparkling with light. "Remember, when you speak," she cautioned, "you draw forth the energy of creation itself. Speak boldly, but with love. Trust that the divine listens." Her words sank deep within Anne. With clarity, she understood that her hopes were not just wishes cast into the wind. They were seeds planted in fertile soil, waiting to take root and grow. Suddenly, the atmosphere thickened, vibrating with sacred energy, and felt her pulse quicken again, not with fear, but with the thrilling awareness of a divine presence wrapping around them like a warm embrace. "Something is shifting," she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. In that moment, ripples of energy surrounded them, causing a knowing smile to spread across each face. They felt alive, invigorated like freshly awakened souls stepping into purpose. "Let us stay in this moment," David urged with quiet reverence. "Let us hold onto this feeling of expectation, like a flame ready to ignite." The elderly woman continued to gaze into the horizon, her laughter light, yet filled with wisdom. The divine spirit moves differently with each generation. Do not be surprised if it takes forms you do not expect. Are your hearts ready to embrace the unfamiliar? And breath caught. The question hung in the air, reverberating through her thoughts. Could they really prepare for something that transcended their understanding? They stood together, a united front against the unknown, each heart an anchor filled with faith. They felt the collective power of their hearts, minds, and spirits entwined as they awaited the glorious revelation. But as they soaked in these moments, a sudden rumble echoed through the sanctuary. The elderly woman's expression shifted to one of anticipation. "The time of waiting is over," she said, as the energy around them intensified. "What is about to unfold will forever change the fabric of your community," and felt a spark kindling in her chest, a divine excitement swirling. What was coming? The mystery was alive, and their readiness trembled in the air. As they prepared for the unknown, the question lingered like a fragrance. What miracle would result from their faith, and how would it shape their journey ahead? In the depths of that sacred morning, the air in St. Michael's Church crackled with divine expectancy. The congregation, encircled in prayer, was oblivious to the world beyond. They stood together, hearts united, drawn tightly by the invisible threads of faith and hope, and looked around, her heart swelling with the warmth encapsulating each familiar face. It was no longer just about James's healing. They had ignited something larger, a community reborn. The elderly woman raised her hands gently, her voice a soothing balm for their restless hearts. "Prepare yourselves. What you have activated in faith is stirring, even now." And as if summoned by her words, a tremor of light began to dance along the walls. Whispers of awe cascaded through the congregation, wrapping around them like a cocoon of divine presence. "Look!" a voice shouted from the back, pointing toward the sunlight filtering through the stained glass windows. The radiant beams seemed to pulse with a rhythm, a heartbeat echoing the fervent prayers uttered days before. And stepped forward, a current of understanding washing over her. "This is our moment," she cried, her voice ringing clear. "We have opened the gateway to the miraculous. Let us affirm together." The group joined hands, their spirits intertwined like a woven tapestry ready for transformation. "James is healed," shouted David, and like lightning amplifying in a storm, they rose, voices harmonizing with fervor. "Our families are restored. Love floods our homes. The divine embraces us." Each affirmation soared higher, carrying their gratitude like incense towards the heavens. The atmosphere shimmered, and then something beautiful occurred. A magnificent light filled every crevice of the sanctuary, illuminating souls and drawing forth joyous laughter that spilled over like a waterfall. And felt at peace, joy, and an inexplicable presence embracing her. It wasn't chaos, but rather the divine rhythm of life, elevating their faith to new heights. And then, amongst the radiant glow, the soft silvery laughter of children echoed. A chorus of young voices stepped forward, led by the little girl. "God said he loves us. He loves James," she exclaimed. Her innocence acted like a touchstone, grounding the entire gathering. She continued, "We can feel him here, right now." Those words echoed, shifting them from a place of anxious hope to a solid belief. Together, they focused their hearts toward the essence of love unfolding in the very atmosphere. In that instant, a collective gasp rose from the congregation. Time twisted, as if holding its breath. The holy moment distilled every fear and doubt down to a sharp clarity, revealing their purpose. God was speaking through each child, enveloping their prayers with a cosmic affection. Then, like a gentle breeze, the energy shifted. A familiar sense tucked into the corners of Anne's heart. She could almost hear the hopeful whispers of her son's laughter. Suddenly, a rush of warmth enveloped her. "James," she whispered, tears streaming down her cheeks. Her heart raced. May he feel this love. With renewed vigor, they began again, their voices rising, an echo of strength that enveloped the very foundations of the church. "Love flows through him. He is healed. We trust in your promise, Lord." As they poured their hearts into their words, the elderly woman stepped back, a proud smile gracing her lips. "Belief and gratitude are the vessels of miracles. Your faith has reached the heavens. It has called forth the divine healing powers hidden within." And closed her eyes, envisioning her son, vibrant and alive, surrounded by angels. And in that moment, a surge of strength filled her. It wasn't just a healing they were calling into existence. It was a revelation, a divine invitation to walk the greater journey together, as one. The light continued to swirl, painting a celestial vision before them. Hearts entwined in faith sent ripples of joyous energy into the village beyond, spilling light and grace throughout Thornfield, engaging every soul ready to receive. And there, amidst the collective miracle taking place, time seemed boundless. All the worries of their past washed away, leaving only faith tenacious, unwavering, and spirited. And with that, they knew their journey had only just begun. They stood together, united in purpose, ready to walk out of that sacred space and into the brightness of healing, hope, and a flourishing community. They would share their testimonies, sharing love's divine essence wherever they went. Their lives, transformed by the miraculous power of faith, would illuminate the hearts of others, challenging them to awaken their own. As the light seeped into their bones and whispered a prayer of gratitude. Thank you for this day, Lord. Thank you for James. Thank you for our beloved community. Thank you for the miracles yet to come. With hearts lightened and faith ignited, they stepped through the doors of St. Michael's into the world, a world changed forever, a beacon of divine possibilities standing proudly upon the horizon of their lives. Now is the time to act. Subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive faith stories that will change your life. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and nurture hope in the hearts of many. Comment below your reactions and testimonies about this. Ending your words matter. Share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this manifestation of faith. This is the moment to show your support for the light of faith shining bright. Don't wait even one more second.